All right, let's just jump right in. For something like 40 years, you've had one single mission: build your wealth. And you got really, really good at it. But now you're in retirement, and the entire rulebook has been thrown out. We're going to explore why the skills that made you a master at accumulating wealth are pretty much useless or even counterproductive when it comes to managing your retirement income. It's time to stop being a builder and start becoming an engineer.
Does this feel familiar? You've got the paid-off house, a solid portfolio, Social Security is lined up. You basically checked all the boxes. You didn't make any big mistakes. And yet, there's this little hum of anxiety, right? Something just feels a bit off. Meanwhile, you look over at your neighbor, the one, drives an older car, seems totally relaxed, and they seem to be sleeping like a baby. What's their secret? Well, it's not about how much you have, it's about how your entire income system is designed.
So let me introduce a metaphor that I think just perfectly captures this whole challenge. For the last 4 decades, you've been building a dam. Every single paycheck, every 401k contribution, every dividend you reinvested, that was all just water filling up your reservoir. Your goal was simple: get that dam as full as possible. And you did it. But now you have to start letting the water out to power your life. And this is the part nobody ever talks about. Letting water out is a completely different kind of engineering problem than putting water in.
Yeah, filling a dam and releasing water from it, they're two totally different challenges. The physics are almost opposites, really. The skills you perfected for accumulation, saving like a maniac, investing for growth, they're not the same skills you need for distribution. Now you need to think about things like the timing of your withdrawals to avoid getting slammed by a market downturn or optimizing for taxes. This gap in your skill set, that's the source of that quiet anxiety, and honestly, it's where people make some really, really costly mistakes.
Okay, so let's take a hard look at the dam you've built. That big, solid, reliable structure might actually have some hidden cracks, flaws that your old accumulation mindset just isn't trained to see. And these cracks, they often start with what you think is your most secure asset.
Let's talk about that paid-off house. I mean, what a milestone, right? It feels like crossing the finish line, and for decades, paying it off was the right move. But now, in retirement, in this distribution phase, it's a whole different ballgame. That house is completely illiquid. You can't just shave off a piece of the kitchen to pay for groceries. It produces zero income. In fact, it's costing you money every single year in taxes, insurance, and upkeep. For a lot of retirees, 40 to 60% of their entire net worth is just sitting there, locked up in an asset they can't easily use for cash flow. In any other situation, we'd call that a massive concentration risk. All right, let's shift gears to the portfolio itself. Back when you were working, if the market took a nosedive, what did you do? You just kept buying, right? The order of your returns didn't really matter over 30 or 40 years. But what happens when you flip the switch and start taking money out? Does that timing suddenly become critical?
Well, take a look at this slide, because the answer is a resounding yes. It's actually kind of shocking. You've got 2 people here, both start with $1 million, both get the same 7% average return over the long run, both are disciplined and take out the same $40,000 a year. But retiree A just gets unlucky. They get hit with a couple of bad market years right at the beginning. They're forced to sell low, and it permanently cripples their portfolio. They end up with just $340,000. Retiree B gets good years first, and their money just keeps compounding. They end up with $1.8 million. It's the same portfolio, same discipline, just wildly different outcomes.
That, my friends, is sequence of returns risk. It's a brutal force that doesn't care how smart you were or how diligently you saved for 40 years. It's a risk based purely on the timing of bad luck, and it's most dangerous in the first 10 years of retirement, which is exactly when you're feeling most vulnerable. And this risk, it's made so much worse by relying on old, outdated rules of thumb, like the famous 4% rule. For years, this was retirement gospel. Just pull out 4% of your portfolio every year, and you'll never run out of money. But here's the thing. That rule was born in the 90s, when you could get great returns from safe bonds. Today's reality, with lower bond yields and people living so much longer, is that a truly safe withdrawal rate is way lower. It's closer to 3 or maybe 3.3%.
And that 1% difference isn't just some abstract number. On a $1 million portfolio, it's a $10,000 a year difference in your income for life. I mean, that's a car payment, that's property taxes, that's a couple of nice vacations. Planning your life based on an outdated number can dig a really deep hole, and it's a hole you can't easily climb out of once you're retired.
Okay, so we've talked about the problems. Enough of the scary stuff. Let's talk about solutions. It's time to make that mental shift from being a dam builder to becoming a strategic release engineer. It's all about knowing which valves on your dam to open, and, just as important, in what order to open them.
Let's make this real. Meet Richard and Carol. I mean, look at them. On paper, they're the poster children for a successful retirement. Nearly $1 million in a traditional IRA, house paid off, no debt. They were in fantastic shape. But they operated on that old, intuitive dam builder logic, and boy, did it end up costing them.
So here's what they did. They took Social Security at 68, because why wait, right? They pulled as little as possible from their IRA because they wanted to see that big number keep going up. And because of that, they totally missed their window to do Roth conversions. That's where you strategically pay taxes on some of your IRA money now while you're in a low tax bracket to move it into a Roth where it'll be tax-free forever. The result of ignoring this? Their pre-tax IRA swelled into a massive tax time bomb, and that bomb detonated when the government's required minimum distributions, or RMDs, forced them to start taking huge withdrawals at age 73.
And that RMD explosion triggers another nasty surprise called IRMAA. Just think of it as a stealth tax on your Medicare. If your income in retirement, which now includes those big forced IRA withdrawals, crosses certain thresholds, the government slaps a big surcharge on your premiums. We're talking double or even triple the cost. It's a hidden penalty for having a large, unmanaged traditional IRA, and most people have no idea it's coming.
So what's the bottom line here? What was the actual cost of making these intuitive but totally suboptimal decisions? For Richard and Carol, a financial planner ran the numbers. It cost them an estimated $170,000. That's money just gone, wasted on completely unnecessary taxes and higher Medicare premiums. And not because they were bad savers. It was purely because the sequence of opening the valves on their dam was wrong.
You know, it's so important to understand why this happens. This isn't about being bad with money. It's about psychology. For 40 years, your brain has been hardwired with one simple metric for success. The number goes up. A rising balance feels safe. It feels good. A falling balance triggers an alarm bell in your head. But now, in retirement, the optimal behavior is to strategically spend that money down. But that falling number still sets off that same neurological panic button, and it causes people to hoard assets in the wrong places, creating these huge future tax problems.
So how do you fight that instinct? How do you build a real plan? Let's boil all of this down into a clear blueprint. And it really just comes down to answering 3 critical questions about the next 10 years of your life.
First, you have to understand the risks you're actually facing. Most people are completely obsessed with level 1 spending risk, the fear of running out of money. But the 2 silent killers are level 2 tax drag, all those unnecessary taxes and premiums we saw with Richard and Carol, and level 3 legacy cost, which is all about how efficiently or inefficiently your wealth gets passed on to the next generation.
And that legacy cost has become a huge deal. Thanks to a recent law change called the Secure Act, your kids who inherit your traditional IRA, well, they can't stretch out the taxes over their lifetime anymore. They have to empty the entire account within 10 years. This forces them to take huge distributions right in the middle of their own peak earning years, which means a massive tax bill. But if they inherit a Roth IRA, all those distributions are completely tax-free. On a $500,000 account, that choice could easily mean a difference of over $150,000 in taxes paid by your kids versus zero.
So here it is, your checklist. These are the 3 questions you have to answer. Number 1, project your tax situation not just for this year, but for the next decade as Social Security and those RMDs start to kick in. Number 2, calculate the real after-tax value of what you're leaving behind under today's rules. And number 3, this one is huge, plan your spending for your healthy years, that window from about 62 to 75. So many people underspend during these years out of fear, only to be forced to spend a ton on healthcare later when they can't enjoy it.
Ultimately, it really all comes down to this one question. After 40 years of becoming an expert at one thing, retirement is demanding you learn a completely new skill. The goal isn't just to have a full reservoir anymore. It's to have the wisdom and the plan to release that water effectively, to power a secure and, more importantly, a confident life. So, are you ready to make that shift?